Howdy, welcome back to Dion Talk. Normally, I talk about reaching financial freedom, making work optional, house hacking, investing in small multifamily. But today we're going to talk about racism. Legal, government-backed racism. This is racism signed into law right now in 2025 in a state that apparently thinks helping people buy a house should be based on your skin color. Yeah. Welcome to the era of socially acceptable discrimination. House Bill 1696 in Washington State. So here's what just happened. Washington State passed this law. Gives down payment assistance to first-time homebuyers, but only if you're not white. This is a bill that went into effect before, but this is now revised to prove that it's based on skin color and not things like income or veteran status or being an immigrant. They're calling it a form of reparations, which is interesting, considering Washington wasn't even a state until 1889, more than 20 years after slavery ended. This law literally creates a program where your race determines whether or not you get help buying a house. It's not based on your income, though they tried to say it was, not your education, not how long you've lived in the state, whether you've served in the military, just your race. If you're white, you're out. Period. Here's why this is a problem. And at the end of this video, I'm going to explain how I've actually been impacted by racism. Let's ignore for a moment how insanely unconstitutional this feels. Let's just look at the logic. The state government has decided that if you're white, you're already doing fine. You must already have access to a house and wealth. But if you're not white, then what? You're incapable of buying a house without a government handout? That's not equality. That's not equity. That's a pattern of racism. They're not lifting anyone up. They're sending a message that you're too helpless to succeed without the state stepping in, and that's supposed to be justice? Meanwhile, the people paying for this program, all of us, including people who were poor, people who never owned slaves, veterans, immigrants, people who struggled for years to buy a house the hard way. So if you're white and poor, tough luck. You get to subsidize a program that you're excluded from based entirely on how much melanin is in your skin. This isn't reparations. Let's talk about that word, reparations. It needs three things. A direct connection to harm, a direct payment from the guilty party to the victim, and a clear end goal. House Bill 1696 skips all of that. This is reparations theater. It's virtue signaling with a government budget. Nobody in Washington today owned slaves. Nobody receiving this money was ever a slave. And yet, this law treats people alive today as though they're stand-ins for historical injustice. It's punishing people based on the color of their skin in 2025, not on anything they did. That's not justice. That's revenge cosplay dressed up as policy. Now here's the kicker. Here's what this law really does. It creates resentment. This kind of race-based favoritism doesn't build bridges, it burns them. People who would otherwise support equal opportunity now feel attacked and excluded. It undermines personal achievement. If someone buys a house with this assistance, people will now wonder, did they earn it? Or did they get help because of a government handout based on the color of their skin? That's not empowerment. That's casting a shadow over people's real accomplishments. It sets a dangerous precedence. If race-based financial programs are legal, what's next? Different tax rate? Access to schools? Credit scores? Justice should be blind, not color-coded. What we should actually do, instead of this legal racism, if we actually wanted to help first-time homebuyers, is to focus on income. Help people based on need, not race. How about credit score education? Teach how loans and mortgages work. Maybe some zoning reform. Make it easier to build first-time houses and make the pricing more affordable. And my favorite that everyone gets mad at is when I say we should teach financial literacy in school. Strategies like house hacking, buy and hold investing, maybe even the binder strategy. You know, the stuff that actually works, regardless of skin color. We've seen firsthand that people of every race and background can reach financial freedom with the right knowledge and discipline. You don't need government handouts. You need a system that's fair and a path that's open to everyone. Look, I don't care what color you are. I care whether you're willing to put in the work to actually change your future. I'm an example. I started with $89,000 in bad debt I didn't know existed until the divorce, got laid off from law enforcement, was a single parent with 3 kids, and started teaching at a CDL school making $17 an hour. It took a decade of buy and hold investing, but I reached financial freedom, something that almost anyone can do. If I had been offered free money based on the color of my skin, I would have been insulted, because I'm not a victim, and neither are you. If we want to fix inequality, we have to start by fixing broken thinking, not by creating new forms of discrimination. Now, if you want your questions answered during a live stream every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, I answer every question that comes. That video lasts as long as the questions do. If you have questions, I'll answer the ones that come up in the comments below, even the rude ones that hate me for being an old white guy and a landlord, because I'm hated 3 different ways and used to be a cop, so 4 different ways. But here's how I was actually impacted by racism. I got out of the Marine Corps after Desert Storm because, they downsized and didn't need us anymore. My goal, joining the Marines, was to go into law enforcement when I got out. I got out and was testing to get on the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. And was told, because I got out of the Marines right after the Rodney King trial, that we're sorry, we can't take your application because you're white. And it basically stopped me from getting into law enforcement for about a decade. Is that fair? Is that equitable? Did I call myself a victim? Or did I just say I was impacted by racism? If you qualify for this program, you should take advantage of it. But understand that you're doing it because the system was created by idiots who don't know what they're doing, and not because you're a victim. And here's how I prove that this is not about the income, and it's just about skin color. When the bill was first introduced, under its first form, you had to make 80% or less of the area average income to qualify for the program. There's actually been programs that qualified for anybody that met that requirement could use the program. But in this one, not if you're white. Well, they realized not enough people could buy a house because housing is expensive. So they've now, in this bill, increased that income to 120% of the area average income. Meaning, not only are you not doing well based on your race, you're doing better, actually better, than over half of the people that live around you. And you qualify for this handout. It's not based on income. It's based on skin color. And yeah, I think if you make too much, they tried to limit it. They did the never split the difference strategy, and they said, how about we make it 140% so that the Republicans would throw a fit? And they lowered it to 120% so that they'd have something to give up. So you can make more than the average or median income, qualify for up to $150,000 that can be forgiven only if you're not white. Legal racism. So if you qualify, take advantage of it while it exists. Because I think somebody with a brain is going to start a federal lawsuit. And let's see how this goes in the future.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.